we think that's the next big wave is making sure that everything that we see that can improve that customer experience is seen, is detected, and then transform that into action to the customers and action to the managers of the stores.
That was Jaume Portell, co-founder and CEO at Beabloo, and I'm Kenton Williston, the editor-in-chief of Insight.Tech. Every episode on the IoT Chat, I talk to industry experts about the technology and business trends that matter for developers, systems integrators, and end users. Today I'm talking to Jaume about the reopening of public spaces such as transportation hubs, retail establishments, hospitality venues, and my personal favorite, schools. Beabloo has done some really interesting work in the last year using multi-sensor edge AI and intelligent signage to create environments that are both safe and inviting. I want to know what's next for these spaces and how to deploy the next generation of technology while protecting your budget. So, Jaume, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Kenton.
So I know that you are a co-founder of Beabloo, and first thing I wanted to ask you was what exactly led you to start Beabloo and how the company has evolved since you began it in 2008.
Well, actually, we started thinking that we could bring some of the intelligence that was by then deployed in the e-commerce sites, where e-commerce were controlling the message and measuring the impact of every single step in the process, to brick and mortar stores. And the challenge was very interesting because we had to bring the analytics first and then also control the digital message delivery in those physical locations. So we do this by using computer vision and other sensing technologies to understand how customers move, what they want, what they're touching. And then we adapt the communication, the value proposition of the store using signage, using electronic shelf labels, and also in sending hints to the people, the staff in the store, to serve customers better.
Yeah, those are all really, really hot areas right now. So it's great to see, you've been around since 2008, definitely a leader in that space. I am curious, though. I know there is a company called Metriplica that's part of the Beabloo group. What is that and what do they do?
Metriplica is the consulting arm of Beabloo. We realize that projects when you're doing digital transformation of retailers or airports or banks, retail banking, you are touching beasts that sell billions of dollars, right? So it's, if you want to do a proper job, you need to prove the value you're creating with your digital transformation process. So the it's not about applying technology and that's it. It's applying technology with sense, and that we do measuring the before and after, creating control groups, and we do this with consulting firms, and we are collaborating nowadays with companies like Deloitte or Accenture. And Metriplica is our consulting firm, and we acquired them to bring artificial intelligence know-how to the company, to bring very brilliant data science to the company, and we use their know-how to improve our algorithms, and at the same time to deliver this direct success cases to the local market in Spain. And those success cases has helped us to be known, to prove the outcome we generate with those digital transformation process that pay by themselves, generate a positive ROI on the first year, and then help others, like other system integrators or other large system integrators, to replicate those success cases in other markets.
Got it. That totally makes sense and leads me to the topic of today's conversation, which is, of course, that the world was totally turned upside down last year with the pandemic. And there's been a complete rethink about how public spaces, whether those are retail establishments or airports or whatever the case might be, need to run their operations. And so all these technologies you've been talking about in terms of being able to observe the behavior of people in public spaces and create intelligent analysis of that has become valuable for completely new reasons. And I'm wondering from your perspective what you see as some of the biggest challenges in public spaces as we move more towards reopening.
Well, first of all, we've been creating technology to improve customer experience. If you want to improve the life of someone or the experience of someone, you need to take care of that someone. That is what our technology does, is look at what people need and react to it. In terms, in times of pandemic, you want to deliver messages to customers to help them understand that they are walking in a space that's protected and properly clean, and where measures are of protections are properly taken. And that is what digital signage does in this context. We have audience analytics in that digital signage that sends how those messages are being understood by customers, if they are paying attention to it, if they are actually reacting positively to it. And we've seen that messages related to COVID protection, related to the new rules of the game, wearing mask or social distancing, this type of stuff, are 300% more interesting by the audience than the proper value proposition of the retail space. So extremely relevant, communicate the new rules of the game. The next one is, are you wearing the mask if you're walking inside? So we have trained our systems to detect mask in the faces and create real-time reaction to that. And our digital signage systems warn anyone trying to walk in a physical space that it's regulated by mask protection, and in the case they are not protected, it warns them to not walk in. At the same time, physical distance is critical. We've trained the systems to sense physical distance between human beings, and we trigger alarms in the system if they are too close to each other, and that is also real-time warning system that helps everyone to be aware that that's a little dangerous. And on top of that, we have sense temperature using specialized cameras that are, on 1 feet of the camera detecting if you're wearing a mask, on the other one detecting if you're have potentially fever, and trigger alarms to the staff in the store or in the bank branch or in the hospital or in the airport to the staff to take care of that situation. So technology that sense risk and communicate that to who can help to protect the staff, to protect the other users of that physical space. And we do this with computer vision. We also add some additional layers of artificial intelligence to clear noise from that data, to create heat maps that represent for the owners of that space where the interactions of risk are happening in that physical store, so that we can sense how to recreate the flows in that store to improve the security of people visiting. No? So there's many things you can do. We've seen that the hardware in most of the cases is already there. It lacked some additional intelligence for the situation where we've been. We created that intelligence, and its same hardware now helps you sell more, but at the same time also protects your staff and your customers.
Yeah, so you've touched on a ton of interesting points here, and some of the things that really stand out to me, you're talking about the idea of creating a space that is comfortable and inviting for customers, and of course, again, even what that means has changed a lot. But I think the implications around computer vision and AI, there's a lot of sensitivities around that. So, here in the States, for example, there's been a lot of, I might say, backlash, a lot of concern around how these technologies might be using, especially when it comes to sensitive things like racial profiling. And then even globally, there's plenty of places where people have different sorts of opinions about mask mandates and things of this nature. So it seems to me like kind of a double-edged sword. But I do know that you've done some really great case studies that really showcased the power of these technologies and proved out, people really are having a positive reaction to this technology. So can you walk me through what you did there and the results you saw?
What we deployed was our intelligent digital signage network with audience analytics. So we sense who looks at the content. When we say who, we mean the computer vision system see faces and take note of this looks like a face of a man of this age, and it's been looking at the content for 15 seconds. That is what we take notes of. There's no ID. There's no way we can recreate an ID from that. If the system see the same face again, 20 seconds later, it thinks it's again another face, different face, probably same age, same gender, but that has no clue that it's the same person. So no data privacy issues at all. The system doesn't record images. The system has been trained to count faces. It's like, you're walking in a physical space and someone is taking notes of 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's what our system does. It's very specialized to measure certain demographics characteristics, but they are anonymous 100%. We are GDPR compliant. It's one of the toughest standards in the world for data privacy in Europe, and we apply it everywhere with the goal of protecting the privacy of anyone that has been seen from any of those cameras. Which doesn't mean that the system cannot understand things that can be of certain risk, and this can detect two bodies close to each other, too close to each other, or can detect someone not wearing a mask. And it can trigger automatically a message saying, please remember that you have to wear a mask to be in this physical space. But it's not pointing to anyone, and it's not, recording any ID at all. So it's a marketing system that makes physical spaces smarter, but it doesn't trigger any concern about data privacy in the customers at all.
Got it. That totally makes sense. In other words, it's not, like, hey, you, Jaume, you're not wearing your mask.
No.
Demerits for you. It's more of a matter of there's any kind of number of messages you could be displaying on these screens. Anything from, let's take the airport example, directional information or flight updates or whatever, to all kinds of things that were specifically responding to what was happening. As people pass by, whether it's people being too crowded together or not wearing masks, or, right, even if they're revenue driving things you wanted to do, on that same display, like, hey, I see you're, of a certain demographic that might be interested, in a new pair of headphones or whatever it could be. Mm-hmm. These are all things you could do. And all of these would be non-intrusive and not personalized in the sense of, to a specific individual, but, very meaningful to the audience because they're very responsive to what's actually happening in real time.
We've done cases in airports where we've used the artificial intelligence technology to adapt the content based on where is the next flight departing to, and that improve sales in duty-free stores in a relevant way, and at the same time, detecting if you have some staff in certain areas of the retail stores in the airport or not, explains very much the conversion on those areas of products. And that is, again, another very valuable message, because it tells us how that customer experience is built up. If you went to a store in an airport and you end up buying a suit, um, and the reason why you did that was because there was someone in the store helping you to choose. I mean, because you had half an hour waiting time. That is very relevant information for the brand, very relevant information for the retailer, and very relevant information to improve the customer experience of the next guy like you. That if we detect someone, walking in, probably it makes sense to have someone in the suit section to try to convert and create a better customer experience. So, that is how the artificial intelligence that we are deploying in airports is enhancing, improving that customer experience, is taking care of the magic of what's happening. And it's controlling the messaging and adapting it to this situation. And this situation is the genders that are walking in, the families that might be walking in, the type of customers that might be walking in, still completely anonymous. We don't know who that is, but we know that in thousands of times before, that type of customer wanted certain types of services or products. So offering it improve the conversion because it improves the customer experience. So that's the magic of these systems. Right now, if you walk into these spaces and I tell you how safe is the space and how much we're taking care of all the cleaning and everything else, you will feel confident in walking in. If we tell you that we are counting every single one individual that's walking in and out, and we tell you it's now 10% full, so you're free to walk in, it's super safe, you will walk in way happier about that customer experience, and your experience with that space will be more positive, and you will be more likely to purchasing something from that location.
So I think one of the most interesting things about everything you just described here is it really highlights how you're not only implementing AI technologies, on the spot at the edge to say, who's coming in, what kind of person or group of people are these, what are they doing in terms of masking, social distancing, et cetera, but also that added layer of intelligence, like, okay, if there's a flight coming soon, where is it going to, what kind of sales history have we had in the past for these kind of demographics? And I think that gets to the point you were making about that higher level AI. It's not just the on the spot recognizing the demographics and the social conditions, but also taking that to the next level and saying, okay, we have a history now that we've developed, and we can start bringing some even higher level intelligence to what actions we should take for this particular scenario. And that's really powerful. I love that. I do want to talk though about some of the other sectors. So, everything we've talked about so far has kind of been in the transportation sector, and really great to hear how you're enabling transportation hubs to reopen, because I think that's really critical to getting our world back on solid footing. But then there is the world more broadly of retail and similar sort of customer facing establishments like banks and food service establishments. And what do you see as some of the big challenges there, and how are you addressing those?
So retail banking is in a serious transformation all over the world. They're trying to help us all use the banking systems online, and they keep certain level of branches open for face-to-face services, of higher level face-to-face services. Their goal is to improve the customer experience in those locations and help us to in the journey of financing our dreams while we're in those locations, right? So they want to explain us that we can finance the university of our children, that we can get a system or a loan to pay for our next trip to Maldives or whatever. No, so they want to help us on that front, and that requires communication and it requires customer experience. If our visit to the bank is a pain, then we don't want to come back, and we might end up doing that by ourselves somewhere else. So they want to be our partner to make our life better and easier in the area of purchasing those dreams of our life, our wedding or the university or something else. So if you want to do that, you have to have a great experience in the point of sale, and that requires communication. It requires music. It requires sensing waiting times. It requires understanding, the quality of service you're delivering by asking your customers with digital customer satisfaction surveys, and also measuring with analytics their waiting times and when and how they are enjoying the experience. And that is a lot about sensing, and it's also a lot about understanding what happened when you implemented certain campaigns to flood the traffic in branches. So queuing systems or scheduling visits to your bank branch is having an impact on that. Measuring the waiting times in the banks can confirm that computer vision is key to understand waiting times. You need to connect one camera with the next one and the next one, and follow customers when they walk in, so that you know who is getting in, who's getting out. Not who with an ID, but who has to count how many seconds each of them had in the branch. And that is very relevant to measure the customer satisfaction, and that is very relevant to build loyalty in the customer. So banking needs sensing, needs digital transformation of the stores with computer vision, with digital screens that explains the value proposition of the bank, the values of the bank, and it needs to be well connected with the queue management system, so that everyone feels informed of when and they will be served. So all this is today perfectly possible with technologies like the one Beabloo is doing, and it enhanced that customer experience in a great deal. With all those technologies, understanding where are the zones of risk of COVID-19, or which are the messages that are getting a higher impact in your customers when they are in the store, is another usage very relevant in these COVID-19 times. But actually, we sense and we see how valuable it is for customers, and how valuable it is also for the staff of the banks, because they also enjoy that level of information. They like to know that the occupation of the banking is within the limits, that the distance is most of the time followed properly, and there's the measures of protection are working well.
So, Jaume, I have to tell you that this is a very relatable set of examples. I'm right now just about to close on buying a house, and I've been working with different financial institutions in order to do this. And it's funny, some of the folks I'm working with have been fully remote, and some people I have worked with in person. And it's wonderful to be able to do things remotely, but I have to say the experience of working with people face to face or mask to mask, as the case might be, has really been so much better. And I think, there's clearly a need for institutions like banks to be able to provide an inviting environment for people to come into, to provide an environment where they feel like they're getting great service, where it's very enjoyable. Because I have to say, the people that I've worked with in person, I feel much more connected to and attached to. And I can definitely say from my own experience that I'm much more likely to go back there and use their services again versus the people who are remote and are, just an email address.
Yeah, human contact is, it happened to exist before even the language existed, right? So we are rooted to looking at our eyes and trust each other, and that is extremely valuable in retail, and it is extremely valuable in banking. You want to sometimes you need someone to trust, and that's the value of local services. You can look at their eyes and you can understand that they are doing the right thing, and that is unique, and it's not transferable to an e-commerce website. It's and that is the value of human beings serving human beings in a direct mode, and that is measurable with computer vision. We can measure the staff contacts with customers and how much value is that creating for brands in physical locations, and that is revealing the value of that those interactions of that local service that is cannot be changed by an e-commerce transaction.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. Another thing that I have to say I have a very personal connection to is the education sector. So my daughter right now is just in the other room in our very small apartment, which is why I'm currently looking at buying a house. We're too close together. Again, I'm very grateful that she's been able to continue her education remotely, but I'm very excited for her to get back to school and for us not to be so close together all the time. So what do you see in the education sector as being some of the ways this technology can help schools reopen?
Yeah, digital communication in schools has been there for a while. The intranets, the local, content delivery, mix hybrid systems where part of it is online, part of it is face to face. I think there's a lot of value to be offered in the interaction between the community and the organization. So the professors talking to the organization, the students talking to the university, and doing all the transactions by interacting with kiosks, by interacting with physical digital displays that can talk to them and can understand them way better than the traditional web interfaces. And I think there's a big opportunity there in voice and in natural language processing systems that understand what the customer is saying, what their intent is, and navigate them through the complicated systems of the schools or the universities in order to get information on how you've done and which is the next step you need to do in order to graduate or get to the new course or whatever. And that type, navigating through those information system is a very, very complex challenge that, when articulated through natural language, is way easier. And that is where universities will save a lot of time, create a better customer experience. In that case, customers are professors and the whole community and students as well, and serve them better with information they need to do their work or to just complete their tasks. No?
Yeah, I think this is a great example of what we were saying earlier about different kinds of sensors that can be incorporated into these systems. It's the vision, it's the thermal sensors, it's audio sensors, probably other things as well. And I think when you put these different technologies together, along with the higher level intelligence, whether it's knowledge about students' needs or travelers' needs or people in banks, you can begin to come up with some very, very interesting use cases. One last area that I want to touch on, though, is I think probably the most challenging, if I'm thinking like from a health and safety perspective, and that is in the space of things like hospitality and event venues and entertainment complexes, where the whole point of these facilities is to get people together and have them stay together for some period of time. And of course, this is very counter to how the world has worked for the last little bit. So what do you see as being some of the most important trends in those sorts of applications?
In computing Occupation is extremely relevant. Understanding where these spaces are full of people or not is critical to clean them when they are not and get them ready for the next set of users. So you're with your family are in a resort. You want to go to an area in the swimming pool. You would love to have your hamakas and stay there to have a drink. There's a table. You don't know that if that's clean or not. So you want to know that's clean. Having computer vision systems observing the space to make sure that after someone use it, someone went from the staff to clean it up, will give you the confidence that that place is right. So that's a simple use case, but it is very relevant. You want to know that the space is available. Occupation care, our system of understanding if a physical space have too many people or not, will tell you that. And you want to know if it has been cleaned up for your usage and the safe usage of your family. And that can be told by a system that's observing the occupation, and later on it's observing if the cleaning staff went there to take care of it. So you can see the tables, all of them empty, and you can see that 9 out of 10 are actually clean, but there's one that is not yet cleaned. So that is informed in a digital signage system. You know where to go because there is a computer vision system taking care of that. So it's taking care of the invisible enemy of COVID-19, because we human beings kind of bring it here or there, but we human beings can make it clear for the next usage. So that is how in hotels or resorts you could use this type of technology.
That totally makes sense to me. I can see how that would bring a lot of comfort to guests. And I'm also curious, do you foresee the possibility of government regulations around some of these cleaning protocols that you could help organizations meet, or do you think this will be more of an informal, based on customer needs sort of scenario?
I think there's two areas. No, one is two folds. One is what governments are enforcing you to do, or to restaurants, to hotels. This is happening in Europe. There are regulations, you need to follow them. But the most important one is the signature of quality of that space. So actually, hotels and restaurants want to do it even better and communicate it like that, and prove it that they are doing like that, so that everyone feels safe. And I think this is the point. Is not about doing what the government says. It's about doing what your customers will appreciate you doing, and communicating it and making sure everyone knows that you're doing the right thing, because that makes everyone feel safe. Oh, no, please don't sit there. It hasn't been cleaned yet. We will clean it. Then you can use it safely. And that is the point, is you want to feel that they are taking care of you. And, the best regulations are the ones self-imposed by those bars and restaurants and hotels to take care of their customers in their own way.
Got it. And the other big question I have is the cost question. So, it's obvious to me how beneficial these technologies are, but I think there's always a question of, especially given how tight budgets have been for a lot of the industries we've been talking about, how affordable these technologies are.
Well, actually, is surprisingly affordable, because how many retail spaces that have security cameras, CCTV cameras? Many, right? Or banking, all of them, or hotels, many of them too. So those are the devices that they need to take care of their customers. How many of them have digital screens? Many of them and the thing is, the only issue is not the hardware. It's the usage of the value that that hardware is generating to actually make the place smarter and take care of customers. And that means, connecting those streams from the cameras to a computer, Intel computer that can get the information out of those streams, make sense out of it, and react in real time using the digital signage that's anyway was available in the front door of the location. So what we're talking about here is injecting intelligence in the hardware that is already in those physical spaces. So we're talking about software deployment. It's easy. It doesn't require much installation, and it's creating value by itself immediately. And actually, it usually pays off for the hardware as well, even it was already there, right? So these deployments can be start from scratch. They pay by themselves, and they bring a positive return of investment, even taking care of the hardware cost. But if you already have digital screens, CCTV cameras, networking devices, you can use all of them to create more value with Beabloo Active Customer Intelligence Suite that will sense with the cameras, sense with the Wi-Fi access points, understand what's going on, and trigger the right answer to your digital sign-on systems, and actually analyze also the sellout of your stores, of your cafeteria, of your retail space, to understand what's working, what's not working of your digital campaigns, and improve the selection of them based on the hour of the day, based on the day of the week, to increase your customer service perception and their conversion to sales.
Yeah. So in other words, what you're saying is most of the infrastructure is already there, and it's really just a matter of making sure you have somewhere in your system some Intel-based hardware that can run the Beabloo software, and then you're good to go. And like you said, yes, there's some cost to installing these things, but they very quickly pay for themselves, both in the sort of ephemeral, hard to measure customer experience, and very, very directly in terms of helping you optimize the digital advertising that you were doing anyways, and making that much more effective.
That's absolutely right. I couldn't explain it better. I will record this one and make sure I can use it like that. Very well phrased. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, so I want to think a little bit about where we're going next, and what organizations who manage all these different kinds of public spaces should be thinking about as we move forward into the next post-pandemic era.
The first thing is, when you start thinking about improving customer experience or taking care of your customers in a situation like the one we are right now, you are sensing customers and giving them what they want the soonest possible. This is exactly what you want to do when the pandemic is over. You want to keep serving them and taking care of your customers as much as possible. So part of it is real-time reaction to it. Part of it is making sure that the stores and the physical spaces give the information the audience need at any given point of time. So real-time preparation for the scene and for the context, every hour of the day, every store, every space differently. But then the next one is to prepare the staff in the store so that they are ready to serve customers better when the day starts. So all these systems that we've been discussing are sensing people passing by, people walking in, people buying stuff. They know what the customers are buying, when they are buying it, so they can, feeding an artificial intelligence engine. In this case, it doesn't need to run at the edge. Beabloo runs that in Intel computers, but in the cloud, can train a machine learning system to understand what will happen tomorrow. Today, this morning, was a sunny day in Barcelona. A sunny day has a completely different behavior for retail environments than a rainy day. And considering that today is Thursday, the purchase pattern of customers in that particular store is different than tomorrow, which is Friday, and it's the day before the weekend. So these things are seen, perceived, and understood by machine learning algorithms that can explain it when the day starts to the staff in the retail store, and they can tell them, look, today is Friday, we'll have and this weekend it's there's going to be good weather, so most of our customers will buy barbecue stuff from the supermarket, so make sure that we are replenishing that area as often as possible, because otherwise we might not serve them as well as we would like to. That's simple. I mean, and this can be sent as a video message to the staff in the store early morning, so that they understand what will happen and how to serve their customers better. So the intelligence is there also to empower staff to provide a better customer experience, and that is the next big thing. Is sharing that intelligence with everyone, sharing that intelligence with the customer, sharing that intelligence with the staff. If we tell the store manager that today they will be selling a lot of ice cream because there will be a peak of temperature at noon, and please make sure that you have the right level of stock because we want to serve our customers better. This is using the intelligence of the store to help the staff to do their work better. So it's about sharing the intelligence with everyone that can increase the customer experience, and that's the point. And we think that's the next big wave is making sure that the intelligence is collected from the hardware as much as possible, so that everything that we see that can improve that customer experience is seen, is detected, is analyzed, and then transform that into action to the customers and action to the managers of the stores.
Perfect. Well, I look forward to eating ice cream together on a sunny day soon.
Me too.
So with that, I'd just like to say thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for this wonderful time. Your questions have been very interesting, very enlightening for me too. It's always very, very, very nice to have this type of discussions.
And thanks to our listeners for joining us. To keep up with the latest from Beabloo, follow them on Twitter at Beabloo. That's at BEABLOO. And if you enjoyed listening, please support us by subscribing and rating us on your favorite podcast app. This has been the IoT Chat. We'll be back next time with more ideas from industry leaders at the forefront of IoT design.